recently on December 15th, a majority of NBA players who signed contracts this season are now eligible to be traded. This 123 player pool consists of some big stars like Kevin Love, Iguodala, and big time players that could help these that will help these teams get over the hump. Keon, with the way the NBA is shaping up and all these players becoming eligible to be traded, and Tony too. Who do you believe needs to be traded, and to what team?
I think Tony should go ahead and take this one first.
No, I like to hear y'all's. Ollie, how about you go?
I bet I'll go first.
Yeah,
Ollie, go ahead.
Yeah, man, go ahead.
All right, so to help my hometown Rockets, I think Danilo Gallinari needs to get traded to the Rockets. The trade proposal is kind of difficult because the salaries really don't match. The Rockets don't have a lot of players to draft.
Yeah.
How
much is Gallinari getting paid a year?
Around like 22 million, 23 million.
Oh, yeah. Close to like a max, right?
And the Rockets have like a lot of low salary players. So I think Daryl Morey would have to work out a three-team trade, but he's done that a lot of times in the past. Even a 4-team trade. He tries that all the time, but I don't think he's succeeded one.
He's creative.
I'll be willing to part ways with PJ Tucker, Daniel House, and maybe like a 2020 first-round pick. I don't know, but we have 2 first-round picks in the next like few years, 2020 and 2022. But I don't think I'd be willing to part with both of them for an expiring contract.
Yeah.
He's on his last year of his contract.
Yeah.
And Danilo Gallinari, he just fits our system perfectly. He's one of the best shooters in the NBA. He shot 43% last year, and he's shooting 39% from the field this year, from the three-point line this year. And he's not only a shooter. That's the thing a lot of people mistake about him. He's also a great handler of the ball.
No, he's a playmaker. Yeah,
he's a
playmaker for sure.
That's what the Rockets are
underrated playmaker, definitely.
I knew Tony would love him.
For anyone who doesn't know, Tony loves the white NBA players and the European NBA players.
Only the European guys.
Just going off of that, Gallinari, like when the Rockets struggle the most, I think it's when Harden and Westbrook can't find their shot. They're double teaming Harden, leaving these wing players open. And if Gallinari, just an interesting stat from last year, he averaged 1.28 per possessions on catch and shoot opportunities, which put him in the top 20 in the NBA. Imagine if Gallinari's on the wing, Harden's getting double teamed, Gallinari's man goes off of him, and is like the other guy like double teaming Harden. That's like an automatic bucket right there. And the other thing I kind of want to mention is we kind of lack a post presence. And since Gallinari kind of plays like a guard, he's going to have these smaller players on him.
The Rockets? Talking about the Rockets? When you say we?
Yeah, the Rockets, yes.
Yeah. He's wearing a Rockets hoodie.
By my sweater. With the Rockets, but
I just want to make sure the audience, knows what we're talking about.
yeah, that's fine.
Excuse me.
People forget he's a 6'10" guy. If he has one of these smaller wings guarding him, he can just post. He's an underrated post defender, and he can just post them up. Or if he has one of these small, if he has a big on him, he can just blow right by him and just go to the hoop.
Yeah.
Okay, I agree with him that I think we could all agree. I mean, I mentioned Kevin Love. The Rockets need like a kind of a big to space the floor, but then you also got to account for the players you wanted to choose to trade, or also are like 2 really good defenders for us. So that's like another thing about the Rockets is we already struggle on defense so much.
Yeah.
And if we want to add one of these pieces, if you look at all the trading pieces, we have Eric Gordon, PJ Tucker, and Daniel House. Well, just all of our like our bench pieces, like those guys are kind of meant to play defense kind of off the bench. And like if we get rid of that, we could struggle more in that category. So I think like that big is a good idea, but we would want to get someone like cheap and like more low profile. So my choice was.
Tony, can I say something about that?
Yeah.
Tony, Gallinari is one of the most underrated defenders in the NBA. Like I think he gets a bad rap. It's kind of like a bad rep for like being a bad defender like Harden. Because a few years ago he was terrible at defense, just like Harden. But he's definitely stepped up the game. His coach, like from last year, Doc Rivers, said Gallinari is surprisingly loud on defense. I didn't think he was that intrigued by defense. What you find out is the exact opposite. He has a very high IQ, and in the games that he did play last year, we were better defensively because he's a very active talker. It's really nice to have.
Yeah,
that's exactly what the Rockets need. I don't think.
But for $24 million, is the thing.
Except Kevin Love. Kevin Love, pretty sure has a more expensive contract.
Well, still, but like both those guys. So the option I had was actually Bertans, and I know y'all made fun of me for this, but as a stat, he's averaging almost 20 points per game since November 16th.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been almost, it's been actually a month. He's been averaging 20 points, and he shot up in minutes, and this was the reciprocal of it. And it's pretty interesting because he's paid $7 million a year. And by him just coming in for very low value, we could obtain him from a Wizards team that's struggling very hard. And I think if we could get him for low assets, and he could still serve fundamentally as a similar purpose as Kevin Love, because he gets space to 4, maybe not as much rebounds, probably not as tough on defense as Gallinari maybe, or not as good a rebounder as Kevin Love, but for the price, I think he could do what the Rockets need, which is spacing the floor and providing those threes. I mean, he just catch and shoots.
Right.
So just watching him, I'm like, wow, this guy would help the Rockets immensely, because we had Ryan Anderson shoot 33s a game and make 4.
Yeah.
I mean, Ryan Anderson just jacked them all up, and he got paid double his salary. Yeah, way more than him.
Let me retort both of you guys real quick. Ollie, Gallo's not a bad fit for the Rockets at all, but I would say by trading PJ Tucker, that's a glue defensive piece, and also that's a locker room presence that everyone likes. That gives the Rockets more of that tough guy persona that they don't necessarily have with James Harden being your star player. James Harden's not known. He's known for being more of a finesse player. And Gallo is literally the opposite of, I would say, a tough guy who, is going to strap up defensively, and, that's like a dog. You know what I mean? He's,
you're not you're not
exactly. And PJ Tucker, other than just him making corner threes, he adds that kind of value, which is very important for the Rockets, because without Tucker and some of the other just defensive players, they couldn't guard anybody. They struggle to guard people it is. So
would you rather have 5 great ISO defenders, just 5 great people who are just on the same page, communicating well with each other? Imagine if Gallinari's next to Harden, he sees some guy cut behind Harden. He says, "Hey, Harden, somebody's behind you."
You don't think PJ Tucker is telling Harden?
I don't know.
But it's also the mentality. I just don't think it's there.
Yeah, a coach wouldn't be saying this if every NBA player was talking, communicating.
But PJ Tucker does.
That's one of the most important parts of defense, especially in team defense.
Would you agree? PJ Tucker does a lot of dirty things. He can score 3 points in a game and he'll be fine if he's just playing defense. Guarding people, diving on the floor. As long as he's involved in the game, he'll be fine. I don't know about that with Gallinari.
He's also such a big offensive liability.
I know, but much to
create a shot. Have you ever seen him
guards the best player on the other team.
He throws it up in the air.
Yeah,
I think I'm better at layups than him.
But he still can hit threes. But I think he I don't get your point. He's
just a more versatile player.
Let's move on. The Bertans thing, I don't necessarily know who. I don't think. Did you give somebody that they would trade to get him?
Well, I know we don't have a lot of picks. That's the only thing. So since we can't trade Gordon, I was also going to mention House, because House is an able defender. Yeah. I wanted to mention Macklemore, because Macklemore
he's been playing really well.
I know he's been putting up a little well, but I feel like these are just points, filling points for the Rockets.
Yeah, and Bertans wouldn't necessarily demand the ball or anything
and I think you could sell high on Macklemore also, because he's been showing production he hasn't shown, so I think his value is increased.
You could sell high on House. House is on a great contract. He's on a 3-year, $12 million contract.
Yeah.
And that's one of the most affordable contracts. He's a young player, and he's just going to get better. And if you put him in a system that emphasizes him more.
Let's get a guy that's not on the Rockets or not trying to go to the Rockets. How about some games
Do you have anybody?
Do I have anybody?
Yeah, D'Angelo Russell, LaMarcus Aldridge, DeMar, some of these guys, Chris Paul, maybe.
Well, I have my trade scenario is a little out there. My trade scenario is different, but it's based on an opinion I have. Obviously, none of us know or think that these trades are obviously going to happen, but these are just trades we think that should happen. So this would happen also, by the way, at the end of this year, just the way the contracts would line up. So it's not really for this year, it's for next year, but I think it benefits both teams a lot. So I personally don't think Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid will ever win a championship together, just because of play style. There's no floor spacing. I think Simmons being on the court very much inhibits Embiid's ability to play well, and vice versa. They're just both great talents, so obviously they're going to put up numbers and do well, but I don't think they're the best fit for each other. So my trade proposal is at the end of this year, Ben Simmons and Josh Richardson from the Sixers for Chris Paul from the Thunder. The Thunder have an abundance of picks, so they trade Chris Paul. They have a Denver 2020 pick. They trade that. They have a Thunder 2021 pick. They trade that, and they have a Heat 2021 pick. They trade that. So the Sixers would get Chris Paul, who I think is a better fit for their team. They'd get 3 picks for the future. The Thunder would get Ben Simmons, who is people think he's going to be a top 10 player soon. Great young player, and Josh Richardson, who's also a great young player. I think it fills both teams' needs, and I think it also helps the Sixers get like young talent in the future. I think the Thunder have a ton of picks to play with, so I don't think that hurts them too much. Like they'll still have their pick next year. They'll have 3 picks 3 years from now. They'll still have a bunch of picks, and they'll get their young talent.
The thing I find difficult about Ben Simmons is that he's just so hard to build around.
You think so?
Yeah, I don't think you can build a franchise around Ben Simmons.
But do you think the Thunder benefit more from having Ben Simmons or Chris Paul?
For sure. I mean, he's could be one of your foundational pieces, and Chris Paul's like an old man.
Exactly. So,
but I don't think you'd be willing to trade all these draft assets for Ben Simmons
and Josh Richardson, who's also young.
Yeah, Josh Richardson's
like up and coming player. What do you think, Tony?
So I have kind of on what is my trade proposal? What do you think on the Ben
on
Simmons?
Mine, I guess, and then go ahead.
On what's your exact question? I just want.
What do you think about it? Do you think that'd be a good trade for both teams? Ben Simmons, Josh Richardson for Chris Paul.
I think Chris Paul would make the difference.
Denver 2020 pick, Thunder 2021 pick, and a Heat 2021 pick.
I don't think Chris Paul would fit. I think it would help to have a veteran point guard, but I feel like he's past his championship contention as a starting point guard.
You think so? But I think Chris Paul's game is based around like getting others involved, and I don't see him. I don't think you can get much worse. Like that's not a skill that goes away, right? Passing, you can pass for as long as you want. Imagine him with Embiid, Horford, and Tobias Harris. That could be dangerous because he's not obligated. He doesn't have a guard. He's obligated to share the ball with. He can kind of have the ball, but he's that quintessential point guard where he can distribute the ball well, and he can shoot and make free throws, which Ben Simmons, that loses them games. But in
then
my opinion.
OKC would also have to trade Shea, unless they would want to make Simmons a power forward.
But I think Simmons can play any position.
But he needs a ball, like you can play him off the ball.
But do you think Shea needs the ball? I think Shea's
He's
great
pick
shooter.
and roll. No, like he dominates pick and roll scenarios, especially mid range. He's really good at decision making. But if you need like a young point guard on your team, like if you're not going to use him, trade him. So they would have to make that, which I don't know.
Yeah,
I think here's my trade. I have D'Angelo Russell to the Suns. Because I think D'Angelo Russell is not going to be on the. I don't know. I thought it could work, but the identity just is not there. Like the way they looked, even with him. Like I know this year's kind of like an exception, but from the way it looked, I don't think they're going to keep him.
Yeah.
But I had. Ideally, I think you could do Michael Bridges, a 2020 first round pick, and Ricky Rubio for D'Angelo Russell. Maybe you would have to throw in Dario Saric too. And at that point, you would have D'Angelo Russell and Devin Booker, which is the new Splash Bros potentially. And then you would have another piece in DeAndre Ayton, which is a 20 point double guy. So I think that could be an interesting dynamic with still Kelly Oubre and other guys.
But how does that address any of the Warriors' needs?
I mean, just kind of like the way the Simmons trade didn't really address the OKC needs. I still think they could have a backup point guard. Dario Saric stretches the floor, can play that type of system, and they'll have another guy that Michael Bridges is the good version of McKinney, who could actually play both sides and produce immensely. Who's done this on NCAA stage and has proven that. He could do this on a nightly basis, but I think they kind of messed up with that first round pick, and he's probably not worth that value, but I think he could fit on the Warriors. But not that it's a perfect fit on that side. I think the Suns have I think with Booker, they could be a real problem in the future. It's just they need another piece. And even with the team now, which isn't very good, they're winning. And Aiden's not even playing. So,
Yeah, for the I mean, I kind of agree with Tony. For the Warriors, I don't think they're missing star pieces. They're missing the players around Curry, around Klay Thompson for next
and
year.
that's like 3 guys. So that's like Saric.
But I don't see Ricky Rubio helping them at all, like at all. Like I think you'd have to.
Not a fan of Ricky Rubio.
I don't see him helping as a backup point guard.
I mean, I know
in that system where you're moving off the ball.
but
Ricky
he's
Rubio-
helped the Suns, and like he helped the Jazz
Yeah,
last
I mean,
year. Like I think he could like.
Yeah, but a
he
different
passes
system.
the ball. He's gonna help their ball
But-
movement for sure.
But the Warriors play like an off-ball movement. Ricky Rubio, when he's at his best, he's kind of dribbling, like swinging it. You know what I mean? I think the Warriors with that D'Lo, that's like a big asset, and they have that pick. I think they're gonna do something where they can bottle both and get like a really good player, not like pieces.
I know it's a big asset, but also the asset gets demoted when you're like not when he's being like injured and not used right, and I just feel like they haven't.
But they could also just hold on.
His
to
value last year was way high. Like, you know, like from the season he was having last year, I feel like the buzz was way more there. And I feel like right now with his like contract and like what he has, I just feel like
Well-
you will get less out of him now, which is okay. Like I said, like they might have to trade someone better because I was saying like if they want a star in return,
Yeah, I mean,
then that's something. But that's also something
they have that pick.
that you're bringing in. When you're bringing in to a championship team, you have to really think about dynamic, and especially with KD's departure, you have to really think hard about what type of star would fit in the system. Because if you're trading for a star that won't fit the Warriors' identity, then it's worthless.
I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be a star, but I think they need a big more than like an athletic big or like an athletic.
They have
wing.
Willie Cauley-Stein. They just signed.
Yeah,
I mean, he's.
Do you think like the trio of like Klay Thompson, Curry, and Draymond still got it? Do you think they can win a championship with them as the best 3 players, or is that era gone?
No, I think they can, but I think they need like help and
And when they're at their best, they had assets around those 3 players.
I mean,
yeah,
Sarge would
but
be like
again. Harrison Barnes is like a good
Yeah,
is a good
Sarge
player.
would be
You know what I mean?
like
That
Green's
Iggy-
backup. Like I feel like they would, and Bridges would. You could even start him, but like Rubio would be backup. Like that's just depth, and like they already have the championship like players that work. So if you just get depth and get the rotation like full, and you have the coaching and like the main stars, and
Yeah,
I feel like you like Willie Cauley-Stein. He's not the best, but he's athletic, like long, like will rebound, like alley oops. Like he's just like for what he's paid, like. You know, he does his job. Like, they don't need too much because they were producing with, like, Looney and guys like that. So you don't really need that good of a player. But, like,
but without,
I think you're going to need a really strong bench. Like, you need depth.
Without KD, you're gonna need a lot more than you had before.
For sure. Yeah, but they
In terms
also
of
won
other
without
players.
him.